I'm only alive right now because my neighbor's dog wouldn't stop barking. That's it. That's the only reason I'm sitting here telling you this. If Mr. Henderson's beagle hadn't been losing its mind at 3 a.m., if he hadn't come outside to check what was wrong, if he hadn't seen the light still on in my apartment and decided, for whatever reason, to knock on my door, I wouldn't be here. But let me back up. Because you need to know who I was before that night. You need to understand exactly what I did to deserve what they did to me. My name is Bonnie. I'm 23, and until 6 months ago, I was the most dangerous person in my social circle. Not dangerous like violent. Dangerous like a lit match in a room full of gasoline. Dangerous because I couldn't or wouldn't keep my mouth shut. I've always been nosy. Even as a kid, I'd press my ear against my parents' bedroom door when they were arguing. I'd read my sister's diary. I'd listened to phone conversations from the top of the stairs. But somewhere between high school and my early 20s, that curiosity mutated negatively. It became an addiction, a coping mechanism. Other people's secrets made me feel powerful, made me feel important, like I knew something you didn't. I worked as an administrative assistant at a mid-sized marketing firm in Portland. Not glamorous, but it gave me access. Access to emails I shouldn't read, conversations I shouldn't overhear, documents left on printers, Slack messages left open on screens when people went to the bathroom. And I used every bit of it. My first victim, Georgie. Georgie was a junior account manager, quiet, hardworking, engaged to his high school sweetheart. One afternoon, I saw an email thread on his computer when I was dropping off some files. He'd left his screen unlocked. The email was from his therapist's office, confirming an appointment and mentioning his prescription refill for antidepressants. I didn't think twice. I told 2 people at lunch. Did you know Georgie is on meds? Like, serious meds. I saw the email on his computer. By the end of the week, it was all over the office. People started treating him differently, carefully, like he was fragile, like he might snap. When a big client account went to someone else instead of him, I heard our boss mention stability concerns in a hush-hush conversation. Georgie knew it was me. He came to my desk one day, his hands shaking. "Why would you do that, Bonnie?" "That was private. That was my secret to keep." I shrugged. I actually shrugged. I didn't mean anything by it. I was just talking. He stared at me for a long moment, and I saw something bend behind his eyes. 2 weeks later, he quit. His fiancée called off the wedding a month after that. Apparently, she'd heard from someone at a party that Georgie was unstable and hiding things. She didn't trust him anymore. I told myself it wasn't my fault, just to free myself of all guilt. People talk. That's just life. Victim number 2 was Simone. Simone lived across the hall from me. She was in her mid-30s, worked nights as an ER nurse, and kept to herself. One evening, I was coming home late and saw her letting a man into her apartment. He looked older, distinguished, wore a wedding ring. I'd seen Simone's boyfriend before, a younger guy, a teacher. This wasn't him. I didn't have proof of anything, but I didn't need proof. I just needed a story. I told the women at my yoga class, told them Simone was having an affair with a married man, told them she was a homewrecker. One of those women happened to work at the same hospital as Simone. She told other nurses. The gossip spread. Turns out the man I saw was her father. He'd been recently widowed and was struggling. Simone had been letting him stay with her on weekends. But by the time the truth came out, the damage was already done. Her boyfriend heard the rumors, didn't believe her denials, and he left. Her colleagues treated her coldly. She requested a transfer to another hospital. She knocked on my door one night before she moved. Her eyes were red, hollowed out. "You did this," she said quietly. "You didn't know anything, but you spoke anyway. You destroyed my life because you were bored." I closed the door in her face, with no remorse whatsoever. Victim number 3 was my best friend, Jenna. Jenna had been my friend since college. She'd just started dating this guy, Aaron, a chef, really sweet, totally in love with her. She confided in me that she was nervous because she'd had a miscarriage a few years earlier before we met, and she hadn't told Aaron yet. She was scared it would change how he saw her. "Don't worry," I told her. "He'll understand. You'll tell him when you're ready." 2 days later, I told 3 people at a dinner party, framed it like I was worried about her. But I knew what I was doing. I did it to satisfy my urge. Jenna's been through so much, you know? She had a miscarriage, and she's terrified Aaron will leave her if he finds out. It got back to Aaron, but not from Jenna. From someone at the party who knew him. He confronted her. She was devastated, not just that he knew, but that she hadn't been the one to tell him. The trust was gone. He felt ambushed. They broke up 2 months later. Jenna sent me one text. "I told you that in confidence. I trusted you. We're done." I didn't respond. What was I supposed to say? Victim number 4 was a couple I barely knew. David and Grace lived in my building. They seemed happy, always holding hands, laughing in the elevator. One night I was walking past the laundry room and heard them arguing. Not yelling, just tense. Grace was crying, saying something about giving it more time, and David was saying he couldn't keep pretending. I immediately assumed the worst. Affair, breakup, drama. I told everyone. My coworkers, my yoga class, random people at bars, that couple in my building, totally falling apart. I heard them fighting. He's cheating, I'm pretty sure. What I didn't know? They were arguing about whether to adopt a child. Grace couldn't get pregnant, and David was scared he wouldn't be a good father. They were working through something beautiful and vulnerable and terrifying. But the rumors got back to their families. Their friends started taking sides. People whispered. Their private pain became sweet public entertainment. They moved out 2 months later. I never saw them again. My 5th victim was my mentor, Dr. Calloway. Dr. Calloway was a professor at the community college where I took night classes. She was brilliant, kind, and had given me more support than I deserved. One evening, I saw her having coffee with a male student. They were laughing, sitting close. I didn't know the context, didn't care, just wanted to create a story. I told people she was sleeping with a student. I said I had a feeling. I implied I'd seen more than I had. The student filed a formal complaint when he heard the rumors, not because it was true, but because he was scared the rumors would ruin him by association. Dr. Calloway was put on administrative leave while they investigated. It took 3 months to clear her name. By then, her reputation was shredded. She had to retire early. She sent me an email just before she left. "You were my student. I believed in you, and you destroyed me for no reason at all." I deleted it. Genuinely, don't you think I deserve whatever is coming to me? Here's what I didn't realize. They all knew each other. Georgie had been in Jenna's study group in college. Simone's ex-boyfriend was David's coworker. Dr. Calloway had been Grace's professor. They weren't strangers. They were connected, and they all knew my name. It started small. My card got declined at a coffee shop. Embarrassing, but I figured it was a fraud alert. I called my bank. They said my account had been flagged for suspicious activity, but they couldn't tell me what. It took 3 days to resolve. Then my car got towed. I'd parked in my assigned spot, but somehow my name had been removed from the registry. The apartment management had no record of it. Then my boss called me in. Someone had filed an anonymous complaint about me accessing confidential files. There was an investigation. I was suspended, pending review. Then I started getting texts from numbers I didn't recognize. "We know what you did. You took everything from us. Now it's your turn." I told myself it was a prank, a coincidence. But then my social media accounts were hacked. My photos were replaced with screenshots of the emails I'd snooped through, the private messages I'd read, the rumors I'd started. My friends saw them. My family saw them. Everyone saw them. And they all started pulling away. Then the gaslighting began. I'd find things in my apartment move just slightly. A cup I knew I'd left on the counter would be in the sink. A book I'd been reading would be on a different shelf. My keys would disappear and reappear. I thought I was losing my mind. I'd hear footsteps outside my door at night. Knocking that would stop the second I looked through the peephole. I'd get calls from my landlord saying neighbors complained about me screaming in the middle of the night. But I hadn't been screaming. My coworkers started avoiding me. Someone told HR I'd been acting erratic, paranoid, that I'd been talking to myself. I hadn't been. Or had I? The night it all came to a head, I was alone. I hadn't left my apartment in 3 days. I'd stopped eating, stopped showering. I was convinced someone was watching me, that everyone was in on it. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "We're outside." I looked through the peephole. No one. Another text. "Look at your door." I opened it slowly. Taped to the outside was a folder. Inside were printed screenshots, every rumor I'd ever started, every life I'd ruined, every lie I'd told. And at the bottom a note: "You made us disappear. Now we're making you disappear. But don't worry, we won't hurt you. You'll do that yourself." I don't remember what happened next. Not clearly. I remember my chest tightening, my vision going dark at the edges. I remember thinking, this is it. This is how it ends. I remember collapsing, remember the world going silent. And then I remember Mr. Henderson's voice shouting my name. I woke up in a hospital. They said I'd had a panic attack so severe my body shut down, that I'd been found unresponsive, that if I'd been alone much longer, I might not have made it. The police investigated. They found evidence that my accounts had been hacked, that someone had been gaslighting me, moving things, sending texts, manipulating my records. But they never found out who. Because the people I hurt were too smart and coordinated to get caught. Here's what I learned. Words are weapons. Gossip is violence. And the people you hurt don't just forget. They wait. They watch. They plan. And when they come for you, they won't need to lay a hand on you. They'll just make you destroy yourself. I'm telling you this story because I need you to hear it and learn from my mistakes. If you're someone who can't mind your business, if you spread rumors for fun, for attention, for power, if you think other people's pain is your entertainment, stop. Because one day, the people you've hurt will stop being victims, and you'll realize, far too late, that you were never the storyteller. You were always the villain. And villains, they don't get happy endings. They get exactly what they deserve. If this story kept you holding your breath, don't leave just yet. Every week, I share new psychological thrillers, real-life inspired cautionary tales, and dark moral stories that pull you in and don't let go. If you want more stories that remind you how thin the line is between who we are and who we could become, subscribe, turn on notifications, and join the community. Your next story might hit closer to home than you expect.